Hi, I'm Vanessa Kamazzi, and this is Interview 360. Joining me today is Andrew Stover, a certified sommelier and one of Wine Enthusiast's 40 Under 40 tastemakers. Andrew's here joining me today to talk about why we should try American regional wines from states besides California. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Vanessa.
So how did you become so passionate and so involved with local American regional wines?
Well, you know, it's kind of a long story. Back in, oh my gosh, almost 18 years ago, I had a part-time job working at a winery very close to here, outside of Washington, D.C. in Virginia. Just doing tastings on the weekends, helping customers, you know, pick out wine. And I was really interested in what was happening in Virginia wine. Not a place that people think about very often for, you know, well-made, fine wine. And so I started looking around, and lo and behold, there's a whole wine industry that a lot of people don't know about that's happening in a lot of other places in America. I mean, Michigan, New York, Texas, even in places like Arizona, New Mexico, places that might seem like shocking to produce wine, but
Right,
they're actually
people
making wine and making some really fascinating wine. And really world-class wines.
Why don't more people know about it though? I mean, is it just it needs to be marketed better? I mean, California must have done a great job with their marketing.
Well, and you know, if half of the wineries in America are in California, more or less, that means there's just a lot of wine. So with a lot of wine, you can market it, you can export it, you can distribute it widely. Plus, there's some very large vineyard sites in California. There's actually a vineyard site that's as big as the island of Manhattan. A lot of these smaller wineries that we talk about in some of these more obscure regional places, they're very small. They're, I like to use this sort of French term called garagiste. They're making it almost like in a garage, and they're not making very much of it. So it's usually sold mostly locally or, you know, somewhere nearby. So you don't always have access to it.
I see that you've brought some wines for us today. So what are we going to be trying today?
So we picked 3 wines today. The first one is from Michigan called Pinot Blanc. Pinot Blanc is related to Pinot Noir, but it's a white grape instead of a red grape. And so this is from a small winery in northwest Michigan called Leftfoot Charlie. And he specializes in what we refer to as aromatic whites, so refreshing, crisp whites.
All right, well, let's cheers to, to Michigan.
Try some Michigan wine.
Yeah. So you make that noise.
I make fish face. Fish face is something we do. Sommeliers are trained to aerate the wine in your mouth. It brings air across the palate while the wine is gurgling around, and you get more flavors because the air is sucked up the back of your nasal passage, which is actually where all of your senses of smell really are. It's in the back of your nasal passage.
Okay.
So that's why when you're...
I'm gonna have to practice that.
Yeah, so that's why when you have a cold and you're blocked back here, you can't taste anything.
Gotcha.
Because the taste is really not in your taste buds, it's in your nasal passage. So now let's try a wine from Texas. And I think you grew up in Texas, right?
I did, Andrew.
Okay.
I did. So I'm very excited to
Try this?
Yeah. And I have to say, growing up in Texas, I didn't drink wine from Texas.
Well, a lot of people didn't. And this is an example of the Texas High Plains. So this is a Rhone blend with Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre. And it's from McPherson Cellars. He calls it windblown. So when you smell it, it's got a lot of just ripe, fruity berries, blackberries, black cherries, a little bit of spice, and it's fairly soft.
Okay. This is nice.
Soft, juicy,
Soft.
perfect for anything on the Barbie, right? So you want to do this one next?
Okay, where's this from?
This one is also from the Southwest. This is in Arizona.
Oh.
So Arizona is probably one of the most unlikely places that people think of for wine. And so this is kind of a famous guy who happens to be a Grammy Award-winning musician, Maynard Keenan, who is the lead singer of Tool and A Perfect Circle. And he started making wine in Arizona because he just fell in love with the landscape. And so this is kind of his version of what we call a super Tuscan, using the grape Sangiovese, which is a Tuscan grape from Italy, plus some non-Italian grapes, which are Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. But wait, I have a surprise for you today.
I love surprises.
Look, I got the Nitro canned rosé from Maryland today. This is a local rosé that's infused with nitrogen. So it's done in the style of, think of like a beer.
Oh, wow.
And you gotta pour it like really fast because nitrogen doesn't dissolve very well in solution. And so you see all those creamy bubbles. That's the idea. So this is like the perfect portable wine that's local and natural.
And unfiltered.
Unfiltered.
So it's infused with nitrogen.
With nitrogen instead of CO2 based.
All right, let's cheers to that.
So it's like a wine, like a creamy wine.
This is so different from anything I've ever seen. I mean, even just that it's in a can.
Wow.
So we're going to be seeing this a lot more everywhere.
I think you're going to see a lot of alternative packaging. That's one of my predictions of trends of the future. Alternative packaging of wine.
All right, good to know. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. It was great to be here.
And thank you for watching Interview 360. We'll see you again next time.